welcome to another episode of the Herd Main Show. I'm your herd leader, John Wayne.
And I'm your herd mom, Megan.
And today we are picking up the slack of last week. We had a little bit of an oops and had our AC blow out on us. Much like a bad motivator, it's just no good to us. We have sort of gotten that resolved, I guess. Enough that we can record without dying in twin sun heat. But all that aside, we are here and we have a pretty interesting topic to discuss. With season 4, had a lot of discussion on kind of not necessarily changing up, but getting more specific with how we do episodes, and how we wanted to go about different topics and whatnot. If anything, we just kind of tweaked our system to be a little bit more smooth on our planning side, I guess.
Yeah, where before it was kind of, how about this guy?
Yeah,
it turned
like
into...
we had a lot of reference from like Clone Wars.
Yeah. And
just current events, like when we talked about the Rise of Skywalker theories and talked about D23 news. You know, with that, we were kind of handed a topic. But when it came to what we talked about, it was very loosey-goosey, whereas this time...
so many geese.
Yeah.
Yonk,
yonk. Yonk. So this time we came up with the categories of different types of episodes we wanted to have, and then filled those categories with tons of topics, and basically just throw those at a calendar. And we make room for things that pop up and are more relevant. You know, so something comes up and it's just like, oh, we need to make sure we leave this week open for such and such. And so we've just smoothed out that system, and that led to us talking about topic ideas, which led to this topic where you really wanted to talk about R2 and C-3PO.
Yes, but we wanted to make it interesting. Yeah. We wanted to make it more than like, hey, this is droids. Yeah,
well, not we. You kind of put up the big emphasis for, the topic and how we would discuss it. I'm along for the ride and helped with the script.
Yes.
But other than, not that I don't necessarily favor having the discussion or talking about two very iconic and beloved characters. I wouldn't have thought of it, and I wouldn't have thought of doing it the way that we're doing it. And so, I would credit where credit is due. Of this is your baby. I just helped a little bit, baby. As with most babies.
Right?
It's all her. I just help a little bit.
Exactly.
Mostly in moral support.
Exactly.
And auto-correcting.
Yeah. And also, the spooky season is upon us, John.
Yeah, well,
it's creeping up on our back door.
That's true.
It's ringing the doorbell with its skeleton fingers.
Probably by the time this episode gets out, it'll be October, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, something like that.
Basically, we're just trying to play catch up and do our normal stuff. So it's getting out at some point.
October's tomorrow.
Probably.
And as you can tell, a very special person is getting into the Halloween season. We have Francor. Oh yeah,
Francor bought the costume himself.
He did. He picked it out. He wanted to be a frog.
He wanted to be spooky, and so we let him pick a costume.
Yeah, check out our Twitter for a better picture. He's a good spooky boy.
And with that, good point is that with October comes a special series, a second annual. Hopefully this becomes a reoccurring thing, although
I really hope so. I'm so good.
I'm one to say that, but at the same time, 20 years down the road, it's going to get old. But who doesn't love some spooky Star Wars? And so for the second year in a row now, Cavan Scott is going to be writing for Star Wars Adventures, Tales from Vader's Castle, which is it's like Goosebumps meets Are You Afraid of the Dark, but with Star Wars. And so each week of October, we're going to get a new comic detailing some spooky event in relation to Vader's castle. Last year, it very literally took place at his castle.
Yes. Some great stories.
This year, supposedly, it's the stories being told by one of Vader's advisors. So, at least from what we've seen in glimpses, it looks a little less like it's happening there, but it's still Vader adjacent. Yeah. Nonetheless, we're getting stories of Jabba, Asajj Ventress, Maul, and a couple others I can't remember. But if that doesn't get you interested. So with that said, we will discuss each week's comic starting the next main show this week. So you're getting 2 main shows this week because we're playing catch up. So you're getting this, and then you're getting our episode 50 special. Mm-hmm. And during that episode, we're going to talk about that day's comic from Tales from Vader. And so each week we're just going to have a little segment where we're like, hey, here's this cool little comic we like. And we do that in hopes that you'll go and pick it up and check it out. If nothing else, for the art.
The art is absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, in true horror fashion, they have great covers, great art inside, everything. It's so wonderful. As much credit as Kevin gets for writing the stories, those that bring it to life and color it, I mean, they deserve a lot of credit. And I mean, last year's were phenomenal. Yeah. I mean, my favorite one was about Ewoks, for goodness sake. Like it's just, but the way that it was drawn and colored, it was just so fantastic.
Get ready for our Christmas episode.
Yes,
just
if you like
saying.
Ewoks.
Like Ewoks and like to see me in pain.
So, but that said, I'm excited.
I'm excited too.
I'm excited for a new season and this new style I'm liking very much. And like I said, it's already taking at least me to a place I didn't think we would have a C-3PO R2-D2 episode. Just not on my top list. So I'm excited to be talking about something different.
Yeah, good job bringing it back.
It's very different, and we're talking about it in a different way, but you'll have to wait to see that.
You're going to. If you've read the title of this episode and are wondering what the heck are they going to be talking about, get ready.
Get ready, kids.
News!
But
first news.
Yes, first we've got news. So we got a bit of news, especially really gaming news. So because we're doing 2 episodes, we're kind of separating the news, so if we don't talk about something here that you're like, wait, this was important and big, it's probably going to be in the next episode, and if it's not there, then just get over it, Karen. But this week, primarily, we're just going to talk about the gaming news that came out.
Yes.
It was Triple Force Friday, last Friday, and
which I didn't know what that meant.
Oh, yeah. Well,
no idea.
Yeah, Force Friday, good reference. Okay, so Force Friday has been a tradition since Disney bought Star Wars. Basically, in October, a little bit before the feature film of that year releases, traditionally in December, they have a Friday where there's just this big release of all the new stuff related to the upcoming project. So, The Force Awakens, Rogue One, The Last Jedi. I don't know if there was one for Solo or if Solo stuff appeared at the Last Jedi one.
I'd imagine.
But nonetheless, basically everything that's coming soon gets a really big toy release because obviously they love their toys and we love our toys too. So
we do.
But because there's so much happening, they decided to call this Triple Force Friday because the focus of Force Friday this year is not only The Rise of Skywalker, but Jedi Fallen Order and The Mandalorian.
Yes.
And so it's really nice to see a video game and a TV series getting the same amount of attention as a feature film. And it's not just in discussion, but also in products. And so they showed off a lot of cool figures, a lot of cool stuff. And when talking about Jedi Fallen Order, they released a trailer for it. They released a new trailer for it. We also
gorgeous.
Yes. And we also got another trailer for Vader Immortal as well. And so, as far as gaming news, that's what we're going to discuss a little bit of. As far as Force Friday specifically, I feel like StarWars.com itself does a good enough job of talking about it. And also, if you watch the 20-minute video, I don't even think it's that long, you get a good idea. I mean, they're showing off toys, and there's nothing we talked about the Lego sets, there's not really anything there other than a couple of new characters that, although being super duper cute,
your new little boy,
Babu Frick, although being super duper cute, I don't feel is huge. He's probably the reason C-3PO has red eyes.
Exactly.
Let's put that out there.
You became a Babu Frick Stan account.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, he's super duper cute.
Yeah.
I'm all for it, but at the same time, there's not a lot to talk about because they won't talk about it. Anthony Carboni.
Leave him alone. He has a hard job. He gets to talk about Star Wars.
Oh yeah, so hard. If he doesn't like it, I'll do his job for him.
You met the fandom.
I'll do his job for him. But anyway, so yeah, other than toys, there wasn't a lot there, so we thought we would talk about the trailers. And so one was for Vader Immortal, which was really exciting. It was kind of a surprise because we talked a little bit ago about, hey, you know, new Oculus Con's coming up. They're probably going to talk more about it. We should get it soon. I was thinking Christmas. But this trailer shows off a whole bunch of stuff, and then at the end just drops available now. And it's just like, okay, wow.
Which you immediately got.
Yeah, I was right there with the Oculus and went ahead and bought that because I was just like, okay. And yeah, I mean, yeah, what a way to drop it. But yeah, it's continuing that story, and it looks super exciting. And so it was just a really interesting way to go about it. Just there you go.
Have Babu Frick and Vader Immortal.
And Vader Immortal. Yeah. Why not both?
Why not both? He's the main character in Vader Immortal.
Oh! We've been playing body. That's why I can only see Vader's knees.
Exactly. So this episode seems to be more Force power related. Versus episode 1's lightsaber-centric action, we get more Force powers.
Yeah, so it seems like every episode our character progresses, which means every episode the story progresses.
What if it, like, at the end zooms out and it's just Sam Witwer?
No. I will be interested when we do get to see this character because, yeah, like, the lore of it is that you're somehow related. We won't spoil it here because we're going to be doing playthroughs of it over on YouTube where you can get the full story. But essentially, you're related to Mustafar in a pretty significant way, and that's why Vader needs you. So when it talks about fate has chosen you, there's actually this battle going on between Vader and other entities for your power because you have a connection to the planet and its history no one else does. And so for Vader's plans, which are in the title, he needs you. And so that's what we're kind of continuing to learn in episode 2, while also learning how to lift rocks, apparently.
Cool.
But if it's anything close to as cool as the saber combat, then I have to imagine it feels pretty good.
Yeah. You've played it.
I have.
I haven't.
No.
Because I get very motion sick.
Yeah. And we went back and forth on it for a while, and like, you should probably be able to handle it. And then I played it, and I was like, no, you can't handle it. I could barely handle it when I first did. There's just climby bits, and the second one's not much better. But I will say, with practice, it gets more natural. So yeah, but it does a really good job of creating, anxiety, but also tension in terms of. I mean, it can be very easy with that sort of thing to just go through the motions and play the game and not feel the stakes. But, I mean, I feel the stakes when I'm playing a game and walk across a bridge with, you know, a character in a video game versus doing that in VR. I feel it even more. It's really interesting how they escalate it with VR.
You know when I feel the stakes?
What?
When I get a package from Omaha Steaks, sponsored.
Not sponsored. Not sponsored at all.
No.
And then we got Jedi Fallen Order trailer, which was equally significant.
Beautiful.
But unfortunately, at the end of that one, it wasn't available now.
No.
But soon. We're a little over
soon.
a month away. And this did a really good job of hyping because it actually showed a good bit of new stuff, including another Inquisitor, which is really cool.
The ninth sister?
The ninth sister, yes. So we've seen the second sister, who's kind of been the baddie of this. But supposedly, I don't know how much she's going to be in there, but supposedly the ninth sister shows up.
It's a lot of sisters. Too many sisters.
Right. There's like the seventh brother, and like they go by, like they take away their identity, basically, which is very much a Empire/Sithy thing.
And with the trailer for Jedi Fallen Order, we got, supposedly our main character, Cal, is looking for someone important for the Empire. Any guesses what that would be?
I feel like it has to be related to the art book stuff we got. He's entering some sort of spooky temple. There's some interesting darky things going on. Other than that, I mean, but I don't know what that could even be. I mean, the only thing we know of is he's teaming up with Saw to try and find Tarful. I mean, how you escalate from trying to find a Wookiee to finding something that the Empire
Very hard to
wants.
find.
Well, yeah, but like
follow the
it's a
hair.
big escalation to go from Wookiee to something important and
Yeah.
threatening, supposedly. To I mean, if the second sister is so involved, it must be threatening to the Empire, not just important to the Empire. So,
Gotcha.
I mean, I don't know. It's interesting because this game is introducing something the Empire's looking for. Vader Immortal's introducing something Vader's looking for.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's a point where we got to kind of calm down in storytelling with this whole like significant period of trying to find something to turn the tide of the war, because I mean we kind of know where we go, you know, and so I do hope for a good while Jedi Fallen Order is the last thing to kind of deal with this space of time in terms of the Empire's looking for something important, or oh, I found out I have Jedi powers or something like that, you know, like stuff that just kind of starts to bog down the timeline a little bit. It's getting a little congested, especially since Cassian Andor show is happening during this time period, Obi-Wan's happening during this time period. Let's move on. I mean, it's not like there's a 30-year gap between episode 6 and 7 that could be filled with something. Just saying. So, yes, I know we're getting The Mandalorian, but that's not enough.
I mean, pick up those hints you dropped.
There's so much being jammed in everywhere else. It's just like, yeah. But, I mean, at the same time, you know, after Return of the Jedi, it's not that significant to be like, oh, I was once a Padawan, I survived Order 6. Like, at that point, it's like, yeah, well, we already defeated the Empire, so you're good, dude. Like, you know, like, it's like, you know.
I want to see the Jedi coming out of hiding.
Right, like, I want Luke going around to find Jedi and research the Jedi. Like, that kind of stuff. Not that I'm not excited for Jedi Fallen Order, it's just that now that there's this thing thrown in there of, oh, they're looking for something significant, it's kind of like, oh, another relic or another artifact or, you know, like another thing that they're trying to look for that doesn't help them because they still lose the second Death Star and the Empire fails. Yeah. So, you know, I'd rather get into storytelling of other realms, but this is going to be a fun game. It looks like a really dope game. So,
yeah,
I mean, it's no criticism of that. So let us know what you think, though, especially about the game and about where the storytelling is happening and what you think about all of that. Because clearly I have opinions.
Oh, yes, you do.
But I still can't wait to play.
Yeah.
We have ours pre-ordered. We've had it forever now. So I really can't wait to get it and see what the significant stuff is and where our character's going in terms of the story. Because I thought I knew, now I don't know. So... yeah. We shall see.
You know what I want to know?
What do you want to know?
Which we'll probably talk about this at a later date, but I want to know what happened to Eth Koth's daughter.
Good question.
It's a very good question.
She's somewhere with the Empire.
Do you think she's a part of the First Order? The First Order?
Could be. I mean, it depends. I mean, she was born...
she was born, like, right after the events of Episode 4.
No.
No?
No, because that Darth Vader series...
That was a flashback.
If the Inquisitors are still around, it's before Episode 4. Because by Episode 4, not many are left. So, it's at least about 8 years since the Inquisitors are kind of in their prime. If not even sooner, because, I mean, really, that comic strip picks up pretty soon after Vader becomes Vader. So, it might even be 20 years before, which means, I mean... by the end of the original trilogy, she'd be an adolescent or near adult. I don't know how they age, but
gracefully, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be
according
interesting.
To Eth Koth.
I mean, it'd be interesting to know. I mean, what came about, just for the sake of supposedly that's not the first time they've done it. So it'd be interesting.
If you've never read the Vader series, you have no idea what we're talking about. We'll talk about it.
There's a Jedi's baby that gets kidnapped by Darth Vader. There
Basically.
you go. Go read the comics.
Yeah. All right. All right. So there are a lot of great couples within the Star Wars universe, right?
Yeah. We're one of them.
We've been married for 5 years almost.
Yes.
Like we will be
celebrating our 5th year.
Yeah, we're gonna be celebrating our 5th year on January 17th. Yeah. We've been together for a long time.
Such a meme response to such a significant life event. 5 years joined with another person. Yeet.
Specifically, I said yeet. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get too into the realms of... I mean, we're doing this mostly as a joke.
We are.
We have to tread carefully.
This is mostly a big goof. Yeah.
But when you're thinking of significant relationships, not too... I mean, yeah, you think of, okay, Han and Leia. You think of Hera and Kanan. But the real goat of a relationship in Star Wars is the one...
That's lasted for 3 generations.
3 generations, 40 years of filmmaking, and... Let's see.
It covers
like 60
so long.
years altogether. Like, I mean, come on. We're of course talking
about R2 and C-3PO.
Yes, I was trying to think of a joke couple, but I couldn't think of one fast enough. We are of course talking about Anakin and Darth Sidious.
Yes.
No, okay, it doesn't work as much. Anyway, R2 and 3PO. Okay.
Tarkin and his slippers.
Hey, there you go. Get you a man that loves you like Tarkin loves his slippers. Or a woman.
We also got confirmation of our first non-human gay couple in Star Wars.
Yes, I was trying to think wait, why mention non-human? But technically, yes. Okay.
They're alien.
Because, well, yeah, they're alien, but B. Arthur's character, she is not only canon, she is married lesbian woman.
She's married to a woman. Yeah.
Yep. Frick in Orza.
I think
Orza
that's
and
the
Frick.
name. Orza and Frick.
It's the fun characters from Star Wars Resistance that we've seen much. Yeah. We've seen more of them in fan art than we have of the show.
We have, and they're so precious together.
Yeah, because it's one of the when we were kind of going back and forth, we saw a little bit of Resistance, and then it was like, wait, hang on, Overload. Let's not expose ourselves to Resistance. Yeah. So no, we have not seen Resistance entirely. Yeah. But they came out and talked pretty well about that, which was really cool. Because that's just more Star Wars representation out there, which is really significant.
Heck yeah.
And so that's cool, because now that's another way for someone to see themselves in Star Wars. Which if you don't like that, then you're just a butt. But
right.
But
yeah.
But
don't be a butt.
Don't be
guys.
a butt. Anyway, so
C-3PO and R2-D2.
Yes.
I'd say they have masculine programming.
Yes.
We'll say that.
That's actually how they kind of phrase it. Masculine programming or feminine programming.
A very interesting way to think about people with alternate gender identities is there's masculine programming.
Interesting.
But
and that even comes from a societal standpoint too, in terms of being masculine programmed by environments and certain things.
I wish I had some tea.
I mean, when we look at the facts, we are programmable people. They always like to talk about your brain is the best supercomputer. Yeah. Okay, then looking at it that way, then that means we can be programmed. And in one way we are programmed, in another way we can be programmed. So, yeah, people
fight the system.
Fight the systems. You can escape the matrix. But anyway, that's actually really interesting.
Yeah.
But yes. Go
ahead.
It's only because they're droids that I don't add any romance to it. Just because
they don't got bits.
Well, they're droids, I feel like they have definitely a kinship and appreciation and a value for each other. Yeah. But I don't think it goes further just because that's not included in their programming. To get literal, I guess, with it, I mean, that's the only reason I can think of they stop at friends, is because I guess that's as far as they were programmed to go.
Yeah, I mean, you can even think of them as aromantic and asexual, that kind of thing.
Sure.
Yeah. Just to add more,
representation. All of it. If you
Um,
can't find yourself in this episode, then what are you doing?
But anyway, when we think of, a good relationship as a whole.
Absolutely. Yeah. That long extended intro to say yes.
Yes. When we think of a good, long relationship with lots of, great attributes to it, we think of, a good marriage in most times. You're very cute, but stop it. Okay. So, we looked up the keys to a good marriage.
Yes.
Yeah, and kind of compiled the common ones, basically.
Well, no, I just pulled it from one list. I looked.
Gotcha.
I looked signs of a good marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized I ain't got none. No, I'm just kidding. No, we got all of them.
Yeah, we do.
But yeah, I just basically pulled off of that, and I was like, this sounds like R2 and 3PO, sure.
But like, off the top of your head, without looking at the list, what do you think is what makes a good marriage to you? Or a good relationship in general?
I think selflessness is probably the easiest way to put it, just because I think from that stem things like good communication, humility, compassion. A lot of things come from being selfless. Yeah. If you are seeking to be in a relationship and you act out selfish tendencies, I don't think you're going to go very far, or if you go far, it's not going to be healthy.
Yes.
And so it's not to say that you have to give up everything that makes you, or that you care about, or that you desire, but it is to say that when you join with a person, that you don't always come first. Yeah. And at the same time, they don't always come first. So a lot of times you have to just switch your thinking into they. You know, the two of you.
You really do become a we unit
right
after you get married.
Right.
Which is a funny phrase.
We unit.
Laugh with somebody.
Well,
that's a good way.
You know, and that's what's so significant of like the biblical terminology of becoming one, two parts becoming one, because that's really how you have to act out everything else in life. And it only gets more complicated from there when you insert little people into that scenario in terms of, you know, children and so forth, and
little people with 4 legs.
Right. Then there's no longer a we unit, it's a they unit.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I feel like the biggest thing is just being willing to not always be first and whatnot.
Consideration. Kind of encapsulates consideration and loyalty. Very important in a relationship.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about the list and how, you know, we think that R2 and 3PO kind of fit in. Some of these are kind of a stretch. But
I don't think so.
No.
Maybe. I don't know. We'll see.
We'll see. But you know what? They fit into most of these.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It is a pretty easy... I mean... And again, like, we didn't find a list to suit what we wanted to talk about. We found a list, and we're able to...
kind of filled in the blanks.
Yeah, we were just able to be like, oh, that's like this, or that's like that, and so forth.
Yeah, we were able to think of scenes like, oh, this happened.
Right, and that's an example.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, we didn't go extensive, but, I mean, you could really go down a rabbit trail in terms of these sorts of things, I'm sure. I mean, we could have even gone down to their love language. And I'm not talking beeps and boops, people.
Complaining.
My love language is complaining.
And listening to complaints.
There you go. I feel like, well, they're clearly both good listeners.
Both, yes. So. Very good. Which leads us to our first item on the list.
It's almost like it was a segue.
Almost. Wear a helmet.
Clearly.
So the first thing on the list is communicate clearly and often, which is incredibly important in any human or droid relationship you will ever be in.
Yeah, if you want any interaction to go well,
you want to be a human on Earth.
you got to communicate, and I like that add-on of be both clear and frequent. You know, like don't assume one conversation gets it done and so forth. But I mean, in the terms of marriage, you know, it's more to do with a lot of people associate communication with dating. We've got to go out and sit and talk, you know, like there's got to be a situation for us to talk just willy-nilly.
Yeah.
And that's not true. You know, that should be just a regular part of your relationship.
It should be a regular part of your day. Like, I can think of many times where we've been, you know, in grumpy moods, and I'll say to you, hey, I'm reacting this way because of this. Or, you know, I need this in this moment. And that's very important to be successful in a relationship. Yeah, and one of our examples for C-3PO and R2 is, if anyone has the best stories to tell, it would be R2 and 3PO. Absolutely. The two have been together since the beginning, and even in The Phantom Menace, it doesn't take R2 long to start chatting with 3PO about space travel and his accompanying meat bags. Like, that's a meat cute right there. It's just like, hey, I see you're naked. Let me tell you about space.
That's how that conversation happens.
Exactly.
I love how it picks up later in the pod racing hangar, I guess. And there's just that segue of, oh, that sounds horrendous or something. Like, you know, it's clear, like they've been talking this whole time.
Yeah.
It's like in Spider-Man Far From Home, they go on a flight, they go overseas, and there's a joke about these two classmates that start the plane ride not wanting to sit next to each other, and by the end of it, they're boyfriend and girlfriend. And it's one of those things, but like if you've ever traveled long distances with people, there's always that grouping where they just find each other, and then by the end of it, they're like soulmates.
Or worked at a camp together.
Right, yeah, it's just like by the end of this, someone is joined.
Yeah, it's happened 3 times in my family, dude. And I'm one of them.
And I think it's so cute. I think it's just finally another freaking droid to talk to, because if
you know that R2 saw that 3PO was naked and went, okay.
I don't know about that, but like, I mean, all of his other droid companions died. He was the only one not shot down. So I mean, I feel like he's point,
so sad. And
yeah,
he just needs someone to talk to.
I feel like he just needed someone to talk to, because it's just like everybody else just thinks I'm booping and beeping. You're the only one that gets me.
Except for Annie.
Oh, well,
Annie
yeah,
knows,
true.
but he's a meatbag.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, do you ever think of the endless hours of stories that these two have, and like how that can affect the story as a whole?
I mean, yeah, like, again, they've been with it since the beginning, so they've seen everything, and that's come up before. One of my favorite books overall of Star Wars and of recent, it came from Disney, is the From a Certain Point of View book. It's 40 short stories celebrating 40 years since the first film, and all 40 stories have to do, they're happening throughout the film, but of characters you don't like think about. So for instance, a Jawa picked up R2.
He just rolled by and like, hey, you need a ride?
Like, you know, what happened with R2 while they were, you know, just riding around in the desert? Well, it turns out that a Jawa took him apart, and like he loved taking apart droids and taking their brain basically, and like watching the movies, which were their memories essentially. And what's really cool is like his whole thing has been like, I want to see the stars, and this is the closest I'll get to seeing the stars, and it's so sweet and wonderful.
So sweet. And
then he sees R2's, and he sees what's going on, and he's just like, oh my gosh, this droid's important. I can't just do what I've done before and just, you know, watch it and basically re-record over, you know, like, you know, so he ends up putting him back together and sends him away on his mission, basically. And it's just really cool, because it's one of those moments where it's just like, to think of being where that Jawa was and seeing all of that from that perspective, it's really, really interesting, because I mean, you know, when you really look at what R2 was there for in terms of storytelling, it's pretty cool. And so I loved that little moment, and I'd love to see more in terms of, like, people fantasize all the time of R2 telling Luke about these stories and so forth and so on. I mean, I know there's people out there that are like, Ahsoka can tell those stories. It's like, no, Ahsoka, you get out the way. I'm sure that's emotional, but no, I want R2.
I get you.
I don't know. It's just, it's more sentimental to me for R2 to be the one telling those stories.
There's a beautiful piece of art that I love and have shared every time I see it. It's of R2 playing for Leia, her parents' wedding. Yeah. It is so sad and so pretty.
Yeah. So, but it's like stuff like that. That has more sentimental value, I think, than as much as I love the idea of Ahsoka telling, you know, hero stories of Anakin and whatnot. It, like, she has a different relationship to Anakin and the Skywalker family than R2 does, I think. Yeah. And I get more sentimental thinking of it coming from R2. So yeah, I mean, they've got stories to tell, and I long for just a time where they get to tell the stories. I'd even love to get their thoughts on the stories, not necessarily just them regurgitating it, but like, and then this idiot.
I feel like it's like if you ask two people about a vacation to Florida, like, one person would be like, oh my gosh, we went to the beach, we saw seashells, and it was so great, we went in the water. The other person would be like, it's hot.
Right, it's hot, it's sandy, it sucks.
I hated it.
Absolutely, yeah. I feel like it's...
Yeah.
I do feel like it'd be that way. But I think there's also a bit of interesting storytelling because it's a droid. And for a droid to be sentimental in those moments, I think is more significant than, obviously, Ahsoka's sentimental.
Absolutely.
You know, so...
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd love for that to come back. And so the next one talks about help each other is a sign or a trait of a good marriage, a good relationship. And so with this one, I thought of one of my favorite R2-3PO things altogether, and definitely from this film, Attack of the Clones, when they're in the Geonosis arena, and obviously C-3PO has gotten himself into trouble, as he always does.
He usually does.
And he'd gotten his body head swap thing happen, and at some point, this 3PO head on a droid body gets shot, and on another part of the arena, the C-3PO body with the droid head gets shot, and so R2's like, okay,
again,
I guess I'm gonna go in there and fix this. And so all the other crap happening around them, and R2's just rolling up and rescuing 3PO, and he takes the time to get them all put back together. And
in the middle of a battlefield.
Yeah, and so like his focus is on, I can't leave this idiot. And so... Which
I feel like you say about me pretty constantly.
I feel like any marriage, it goes back and forth of just like, let's do this. And so, but yeah, like, but in that regard, it's a big sign, because that's what a lot of life is like, is all this other crap is still happening, but because you're selfless and you love this person, you put them above all that other stuff and just go right in and do what you can to fix it and whatnot. I still don't know how they got off the planet, because everybody else just dipped.
Oh, you know.
Like...
Yeah. A clone trooper probably picked them up or something.
Anakin wouldn't have let R2 stay there, but...
And it was probably Cody.
Yeah. If he was even there, I don't know.
Yeah. Or it was Wolf.
We don't know who was there.
It was probably Wolf. Because, like, he remembers how talkative 3PO is. The next one is to make time as a couple, which is very important. Just as important as communication and helping each other, you have to make time for the relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. You gotta make... And make time is important, because you've got two lives joined together now, so it's got to be intentional that we're going to spend some time together, because if not, then it's not going to happen.
Exactly.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, when you got two grown-ups, adults who are, working some more, you have to be intentional about making time for each other. And the Clone Wars kept them apart a lot of the time, unfortunately. But when they could, they managed to get out on an adventure together. Like
Several.
Retrieving Jogan fruit.
Jogan fruit!
I was waiting.
Yeah.
From the Coruscant market, or rescuing a village of Alenians. Luke.
You're right.
And much more. Do you have a favorite R2 and 3PO adventure?
Probably it's the weird one, but probably the one where they're on Aleen, and that's the one where there's earthquakes happening and they don't know why, and they end up figuring out it's something to do with underground, and then of course C-3PO gets too close to a ledge, goes down, and while they're down exploring the caverns, they realize that there's this whole other population of species of some sort.
Ents.
And they're basically, their two worlds are kind of conflicting, and they're chosen to fix it.
For some reason. I think it's just because he's shiny.
Yeah. Well, it's funny just the interactions, because of course 3PO is the one just like, just logic of how do we do this, and R2's just doing it, he's fixing everything, and then it's all better. But the thing is like, it's that whole adventure, because it just keeps going from there. Then they leave that planet, they get stranded on another planet, R2 falls on a little creature and overthrows this village, and then it just keeps getting more and more ridiculous.
It's so weird. It's fantastic. And I'd say another one that's not on the list, but is also important and kind of folds into this is support your partner.
Supporting, absolutely. Yeah. Well, and then like I do feel like they bicker, and I feel like R2 does call 3PO out, but at the same time I also feel like R2 doesn't a lot of the time too.
Yeah.
And just like, think about it. Like, what's 2 + 2? Oh yeah, I totally didn't know. But like he gratifies him a lot in terms of like, it's a lot of like the, hey honey, can you open the jar of pickles? It's just like, it's just gratification. Yeah. But it's appreciable.
Exactly. Like, I think you give me a lot of support and have given me a lot of support.
I get the cereal off the top of the fridge.
Yeah.
I get the cups from the top shelf.
Because you're 4 inches taller than me.
Makes a difference.
I am short. So, and the last one we have on the list is understand that it is...
It's not the last one. It's the next to last one.
It's the next to last one on the list. Okay, sorry. Understand that it is okay to disagree, which is very important.
Yeah.
No disagreement quite summarizes the droid's relationship than the one that started it all in episode 4. The two bickering over which way to travel on Tatooine, and the whining about the heat was an interesting way to introduce the characters and, you know, their dynamic. And clearly it was successful because it's continued for the last 40 years.
Yeah, I mean, I still think, I mean, what an introduction. Like, I mean, I couldn't honestly see it playing out any other way. And, I mean, it works so well, and it's just such a real... Like, these aren't necessarily I've got the thing and I'm going to rush in. Like, they aren't the heroes.
No.
And it shows in how they're just trying to get the thing to the right. Well, R2 is. And 3PO is just like, I don't know what's happening. Exactly. It's hot. There's sand everywhere. But, like, I don't know. Like,
which is like...
the captain's dead now.
Exactly. It's like a trip to the beach with us. It kind of switches between.
So... I mean, it's just such an iconic way to introduce characters that would eventually become iconic, and it's very memorable and interesting.
Absolutely.
But it's not the only disagreement they have. They have a lot of significant... I mean, basically anytime they're together, anytime you're around C-3PO in general, you're bound to have an argument or something.
Yep.
I would constantly be... In fact, there's someone like this at church, and it's very... I feel like there are two, and it's just like I get it. So but it's one of those things where it's just like it's okay to have those bickering spats, but keep going.
Exactly.
You know, the big point is just to keep going.
That's how you get someone's perspective sometimes.
Nasvidanya.
You went from German. No, that's Russian.
Nasvidanya?
Yeah. That's Vidanya.
That's Russian.
That's Russian, and then you went to Java.
Nasvidanya, Mianya. Let's keep going, please.
Part of any successful relationship is judging your partner constantly.
Silently judging.
But silently.
Exactly. We just got an antsy cat.
Do you have a favorite argument between the droid boys?
Okay, yes. It's gotta be in Empire Strikes Back, best Star Wars movie and movie of all time. When freaking in the middle of escaping, 3PO's losing his crap, and R2's putting him together, and then in the middle of putting him together, it's like, oh wait, I know how to solve this whole thing, and runs away, and 3PO is so frustrated, he chases after him with one leg, and it's just like, what the heck, dude? Like, you got... And he scolds him for talking to strange computers and all this other stuff, and it's just... It's so ridiculous. It's so funny. That's definitely got to be my favorite. It's just... It's quality entertainment.
It is quality entertainment. It's very funny, and, like, I can think of times where, like, we'll both be on a completely different wavelengths, and, like, I think something's more important and you think something else is even more important, and usually you're the one that's right because what I think is important isn't always that important.
Like pumpkins.
Like, I'll fight you. Pumpkins are incredibly important.
Hey, hon, what do you want to get for dinner?
Pumpkins! But yeah.
Do you have anything? There's so many.
Not really. There's so many.
Yeah, I mean, next to the one in A New Hope where they're introduced.
Yeah, I think that one's like the best.
Yeah. And what's best, like if you like that, look up Simon Pegg and his friend that's in all his movies, reenacting that whole.
Nick Frost.
Nick Frost.
Nick Frost. Yes.
Yeah. They reenact this.
It's so funny.
I'm gonna do the noise of it. I'm gonna do the noise of his joints.
Do it then.
I need to rest before I fall apart. My joints are almost frozen.
It's not very likely, is it?
What?
We're in the desert. It's not exactly half, is it?
That's not the point. It's not. What are you talking about?
Hang on. You don't think R2 would call C-3PO out on this?
Yeah, well, it's not for our. It's not our place to say, is it? It's what it was in the film. We should
Save it. I'm going this way.
I'm not going that way. It's far too rocky.
What are you complaining about rocks for? You got legs, you know? I got wheels for feet.
I was this kid. I was the Simon Pegg in this, whereas like I had friends that were the Nick Frost of this in terms of like, no, you got to do it this way. That's not how they did it. And they're just like, I don't care. Like it's hot. I'm tired. I want to go home. And it's just like, no, that's not how they did it. It's entertaining. It's entertaining.
It is entertaining.
Anyway, next.
Yes.
So to end it out, one of the biggest things in a marriage, in a relationship, and the relationship specifically between R2 and 3PO that I think is the big end, the good way to end any advice on relationships. It comes down to appreciating your partner, and to share your gratitude for the other person. And I mean, it's just important in general to make sure that people know that you appreciate them. When you're eternally joined for life, it's even more important because they see parts of you that no one else sees. And so it's important to appreciate them for always dealing with you and loving you in spite and all that other stuff. And with 3PO and R2, it's no different. And there's really just one little tiny thing that comes to my mind with this one, and it's in The Force Awakens when R2 finally wakes up, very Deus Ex Machina, to help solve the puzzle. But nonetheless, it's significant, and there's just this tiny little scene where 3PO speaks up and just acknowledges, like, it's so good to have you back, friend. Yeah. And it's just so big, because...
It means a lot.
Yeah, just the simple fact that of acknowledging, like, this has been a big chunk of life, and I'm glad to have it back.
Yeah.
It's a big deal, and so I thought that was just a really... it's still a moment that makes me go, oh.
Yeah.
And it's just enough. It's just enough. It doesn't need to be huge, but it was just enough.
Yeah.
And so for all the faults of their relationship, for all the bickering and fighting, and for all the misadventures, I have no doubt that these two droids do care about each other and are in many ways inseparable.
Yes. In my mind, I think of like the first... What happened when R2 went to sleep? Did he just like shut down, and then 3PO probably shut down with him because they're taking a nap, and then C-3PO wakes up and he turns to R2 to like trying to wake him up, and like starts freaking out.
Like, this is sad.
It's incredibly sad, but like that's what I think of. Like he probably had a really hard time with that at first.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I mean, so many years together and being the only ones to relate to each other and be there for each other, it had to make a difference. And I mean, yeah, they're droids, and we don't necessarily regard them with the whole big narrative going on, but I'm sure it had to be a different world without your best friend. And that's what it's like with a lot of relationships. Like that's a really big sign of a relationship when you know that you can't go a day, without that person significantly. Obviously not like they went to the supermarket, calm down. But like, I think about when I was home alone for the first time in a very, very, very long time. You worked all day and I was here by myself, and it was very different for me. It was not cool.
You kept texting me.
I didn't like it.
You were bored.
And I'm not saying like if you miss them, they're the one. I just mean that's how you're the value of the relationship, I think, of any degree,
Mm-hmm.
marriage, boyfriend, girlfriend, friends, when you feel their absence in a significant way, you know the value. It's the same thing of like, did you lose $1 today?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's fine. Did you lose $100? You feel that.
Mm-hmm.
You know who has value by how you feel when they're not there.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think of the longest relationship that I've ever, experienced is, my grandparents. They were married for...
They were married for meow?
They were married for meow. I think almost 6 years.
A long time.
A very, very long time. And when my papa passed away, that was certainly a huge, unexpected change of life for my Nana. And, I think of that a lot.
Yeah, well, and that's why I think of their relationship, there's no story that ends with one without the other, in my opinion.
It's hard to say, just Nana's house.
Yeah.
You gotta say Nana and Papa's
well,
house.
and right, and you don't typically say R2 without 3PO or vice versa.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, they're eternally joined, just like any good marriage, and it's worth celebrating. And that's what this episode was meant to be about.
Yeah.
Is celebrating the holy union
Companionship
of R2 and 3PO.
Yeah. I think we have one last question to answer.
Oh, do we?
This is very important.
Okay.
Which one of us is R2 and which one of us is 3PO?
I'm totally R2.
You totally R2?
I'm totally R2.
Give your reasons, boy.
Because I have hidden compartments. I bleep and bloop.
You do?
I'm sarcastic with an exclamation point.
You are?
I have a swivel head.
You're not Batman.
I usually use that. I don't listen very often.
No, he doesn't.
I have red lights. And I'm loyal.
You're incredibly loyal. And you do have red lights.
Also, I can roll backwards and forward and do stuff.
You can do stuff.
I
You
can
do a
do
lot of
stuff. I do so much stuff.
Okay, so then what makes me 3PO? I think there's a big one.
The anxiety.
Anxiety.
Also, you're golden, and that means that you brighten my day constantly with your shiny bits.
Shut up.
Also, you explode, but you always manage to come back together.
Hey, there's a good mental health.
So, yes.
Yeah.
Get you somebody in life like R2 or 3PO.
Exactly.
One or the other.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, yeah, we wanted to celebrate these two iconic characters, and what a better time than when there's part of a story that's coming to an end significantly. Definitely not the last of either of them that we're going to see for sure, but
No, definitely not.
but she's sad about it.
She's very sad.
She didn't like that.
Bean.
So I think that's the sign to end.
Yeah.
But definitely let us know your favorite R2 3PO moments, and let us know what you think of this, and just maybe throw out there some relationship advice. Who knows who's listening? But with that, we are going to move on to our after show. If you are with us on Patreon and love what we do and support us in what we do, then that means that you get a whole extra show where we're going to play Escape the Death Star. And so that's going to be fun. You can check out other episodes over on Patreon if you join for just $1 a month. We've done Star Wars Mad Libs. We've done Star Wars quizzes. We've done all kinds of crazy stuff. And so, but it means the world to us, those awesome people that do support us. And if you want to join them, just check out our Patreon page. Head there and see what's happening and what you can get for your support. We greatly appreciate it. Send these cats to college. Please. But yeah, so check out our Patreon page. All the other awesome places where you can keep up with all Nerd Herder news, including Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Also check out our YouTube channel where our main show will also be available if you like watching our beautiful faces and this awkward cat. And other videos like Jedi Fallen Order playthroughs and all other kinds of things that are going to be happening. Yeah. So, we're slowly taking over the internet, so make sure you're connected with us there. Join us for the uprising, my brothers. Hyonk hyonk.
Your days are numbered, McElroys.
With that, guys, we'll leave you to it. Stay scruffy. May the Force be with you.
Bye.
Oh, she didn't say anything. Bye!